And I can just talk now.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Ready? Okay. Yeah. Good morning, buenos dias and bienvenidos. Welcome to our presentation on Mexico City this morning. My name is Ted, and my first encounter in Mexico was in about 1975. I operated overland camping tours, and I vaguely remember crossing from Texas into Mexico. It took forever to drive down to Mexico City, and then it took me a day and a half to find our camping ground. The place was so big. Mexico is one of our favourite places, especially the colonial areas, but today we're just going to be talking about Mexico City. The capital's Mexico City, population's probably 118 million. We don't need any visas, and it's famous for tacos and all that sort of stuff, and drinks like tequila. The main when the Spanish arrived, the main groups of indigenous were the Aztecs and the Mayans, and the Aztecs we'll see a little bit in Mexico City. It's a huge country and it's a huge city. So I drove down from the States through Monterrey all the way to Mexico City. Then our tour continued overland all the way down to Panama. So that was way back in 1975. And been travelling to Mexico, and the staff have been visiting on a regular basis ever since. When I think any time is a good time to travel to Latin America, you've got to be aware of the seasons, of course. They're in the northern hemisphere, and so our winter time is their summer time. So July and August are probably the hottest months to travel, and a little bit of rain through that period of time. When the seasons change, I think is another good time, March, April, May, and then later on October, November and December. December, January and February are probably the better months for the beach areas because of the northern hemisphere winter time. The obvious route is Australia to Los Angeles, connecting with a through fare to Mexico City, and also land Chile via Santiago. You can fly through there. And Panama, Central America is another point of entry. They will accept US dollars everywhere, of course, and the peso at the moment is about 15 pesos to the Australian dollar. Credit cards, US dollars, cash, and Visa and MasterCards are all accepted. When Cortez landed in the Mayan Yucatan Peninsula and then took months to walk across Mexico to this Aztec capital that he heard about, he climbed up over a mountain and he saw this incredible city built on a lake, built on an island in the middle of a lake, and an organised city of something like 200,000 people evidently, the capital of the Aztec Empire. The city was called Tenochtitlan. I think I got that one right. And it was an amazing place. Now this place here is the central, and what we're going to see today in Mexico City is what is left over from what he saw in 1519. So some of the canals are still there. They're about 30, 40 minutes outside the centre, and today they're market gardens, and there's 3 or 4 canals, and there's gardens and people selling flowers. And on the weekend it's a real good fun place where the mariachi join these punts. People celebrate birthdays and weddings, and they cook meals on this thing, so it's noisy, colourful, and it's just a good fun place. So that's what's left over, and this area is called Xochimilco. So there's the centre, the Zocalo, the main plaza, the biggest plaza in Latin America, and that Plaza Mayor, that Temple Mayor is just in that corner there, is the only remains of that particular city way back then in the Aztec Empire. Today we have a modern cathedral that's leaning a little bit to the left with the earthquakes and the earth. It's a funny place to sort of stand and see. That's the lean-to of this cathedral. The National Palace and other official government buildings, where this photo has been taken from one of the hotels on the corner. the National Palace here has got this incredible artwork by Diego Rivera. And it goes on for miles around the corridors, and it tells an incredible history of the Mexican revolutions and the first encounters with the Spanish. So it's worth a good hour just wandering around this particular place. About a 15-minute walk in a pedestrian mall just behind us here, we come across the Ballet de Artes. It's just this beautiful mini opera house, and there's folkloric dancing there twice a week, which is worth a visit. Alameda Park is nearby, and from there it continues on. But this is one of the Diego's works, and that's him there, and that's Frida, Kahlo, his wife, which we'll see in the museum a little bit, and it draws these incredible. So every face is a historical name. Don't ask me who they all are, but this just goes on wall after wall after wall, and he's also it's got some amazing murals on the outside in a lot of places around Mexico. So as I said before, the Ballet de Artes, the little opera house, is just standing right here in the Alameda Park, and right at the end and going off to the left a little bit is the famous Reforma street. Now this avenue here is, compared to the Champs-Élysées of Paris, it's a very wide boulevard, shops, hotels, apartments, going all the way down to Chapultepec Park at the other end. And it's just a pleasant place to wander around in. And like any city now these days around Latin America, if you're there on a weekend and if your clients if you're planning their itinerary, they block these streets off. And on Copacabana, that's blocked off in Rio. Buenos Aires has something similar, and Santiago does, and people just go out on walking, riding their bikes and skateboarding or whatever, and it's just a great way to get to know and feel the place with the locals. Of course, there's tons of shopping like anywhere else, and there's some really good bargains to be had. So the avenue is made up of lots of plazas and statues, the Angel here, the American Embassy is nearby, and different others, based on similar to the Champs-Élysées. Very long avenue. Right at the end is the Chapultepec Park, which is another highlight of, think Mexico City of 20 million people, and there's little pockets which I really love exploring. One of them is Polanco. Now, Polanco is the Teotihuacan South area, if you like. Very upmarket, very ritzy, nice shops, all the fancy hotels are there, and nearby the giant park with the museum of the Anthropology and the castle Chapultepec. And so that again is a beautiful place to wander around and enjoy the city itself. One of the best museums I've come across is the Museum of Anthropology. Now, Mexican history goes back something like 10,000 years or more, and you walk into this museum through this incredible waterfall entry point, and there are rooms and rooms and rooms, and they start back in 10,000 years approximately, when they say they set up an image of the first people in this area, hunters and gatherers. The history then just continues on forever until the arrival of the Spanish. So there's different cultures, and each culture then sort of took over the other and became, at the end of the Aztec and the Mayan civilizations. It's worth 3 or 4 hours of wandering around. You need a bit of time, and that gives you a great introduction with your clients into Mexico itself. So it's a great place to start, and then actually go out to the country towns and the cities and actually see and climb some of the pyramids later on the itineraries. Now, a complete contrast, we have this modern museum. Now, this is the museum here, Soumaya. It's built by the richest man in Mexico, and would you believe you catch a lift up to the top and you wander down in a circle through the different floors, and he's got some incredible valued art pieces, sculptures and paintings and all sorts of things from Europe and Mexico, and it's free, and it's in this Polanco area, and it's walking distance to the Chapultepec Park. So your clients can on a free day just wander around here and just enjoy this incredible collection. Complete contrast to the museum we just saw before. Again, talking about areas and pockets and, you know, anything from Carlton or Fitzroy to Williamstown or whatever. So this is Coyoacan, and 30 to 40 minutes ride from downtown. So there's a museum there, and this is one of Diego's murals again, and that's in the library in the university. And nearby is this beautiful plaza, open air, and lots of restaurants and street art and music, and just the Mexicans going out and enjoying themselves. And it's about 2 or 3 blocks away from Frida's museum. This is the house she's been brought up in, and Diego, her husband, lived here. And again, it's 30 or 40 minutes worth of wandering around and enjoying this artwork. She was a very unusual lady in the fact that the poor thing had a horrible accident when she was around 20, I believe, and then she took years and years to recover way back, and then she portrayed herself in this weird and wonderful art and craft. Lots of great history and interesting artworks and to wander around. So this is in the area, a beautiful suburb called Coyoacan. Just outside Mexico, or down from the city centre. Another area is called Soumaya, and on a Saturday only the whole little park opens up to art and craft, music and restaurants, and just a delight to wander around in on a Saturday around Mexico. Excuse me. Lots of highlights, of course, and they're all included in the tours that we do, and one of them is the Shrine of Guadalupe. Now, I just wanted to, this dates back to about 1531, when the Virgin Mary appeared to a peasant in the fields outside, in the countryside, and he saw a vision of the maiden at a place called Teotihuacan, which later became this particular area, and because it was a country village. Now it's called Guadalupe, and it's part of the Mexican sprawling suburbs. And the Virgin asked this particular one to build a church and a shrine in her name. And what's happened is they built a very tiny little church originally, then a bigger one, and now you've got this enormous shrine, and holds something like 10,000 people. And every year there's a pilgrimage around December the 2nd to come through to that area. So if you've got people who like pilgrimage, they've been to Spain or Rome or places like that, Latin America is full of those sort of things, and we can organise that. So complete contrast, the ruins outside Mexico, about 40, maybe an hour's drive depending on the traffic, Teotihuacan. This is an amazing set of ruins, and they date back to from around 200 BC to about 750 AD. The Temple of the Sun and the Moon and the Avenue of the Dead. So these people are here before the Aztecs. The Aztecs sort of came around in the 1300s, and this is an amazing set of ruins that they built out of stone. And like all the cultures I've found around South America, they had the deities, which are the mountains, the stones, the sun and the moon, so they had to build high platforms to make offerings to the sun gods that they had. So a great place. Now, because my name's Ted, I love these T words, and so there's a little bit of history here for you. So Tenochtitlan is the capital of the Aztec empires, and so these ruins outside Mexico City, Teotihuacan, were built way before the Aztec ones. And just a complete contrast, in Bolivia, just outside La Paz and next door to Lake Titicaca is Teotihuacan. Say that when you had a couple of tequilas. And this is where the Inca Empire origins come from, just by the way. So keep this in mind, because there'll be a trick question coming up in a minute. So what do we do in Mexico? At least, you know, if your clients have got 10 days over at Mexico City, I'd recommend that. So we started off at the Zocalo. Zona Rosa is where the Reforma area is, Chapultepec Park. You can have the pyramids outside, or just instead about 40-50 minutes away. Day trips to Cuernavaca, Tesco, the city, to Silver City. You can continue on down to Acapulco. So plenty to do and see in the city, and then on the way also to Puebla, which is over here. So there's all sorts of beautiful, wonderful things to do. And any big city deserves 1 or 2 free days. So depending on your client's needs, make sure they have a day on their own to walk around the park or ride a bike or just enjoy the passing traffic in a park type sort of thing, because there's great things to do and see. Good restaurants, good food, good hotels. We start off at 3 stars and work out to historical and modern. And they're spread out all over, around a 10-kilometre radius of around Mexico from the downtown. So according to your client's budget, we can put something together for you. Food, like anywhere around South America now, is getting more and more popular and more famous, and Mexico City is no exception. So lots of great international restaurants with Mexican flavour, Mexican recipes to visit. So again, some of these places need to be pre-booked. So if you've got a client that's a bit of a foodie, make sure to tell us so we can book them in the restaurant whilst they're staying in Mexico City. So that sort of more or less concludes it. So we'll look out for a brand new brochure. It's gone to the printers today actually, and we're combining South America, Mexico, Cuba and the Caribbean and Central America and Antarctica. This is where we operate from. Around the Copper Canyon, we don't go to the border for obvious reasons. From the Copper Canyon all the way down south to Ushuaia, and also we can offer you cruises in the Antarctic Peninsula. 13 countries here, 7 in Central America, plus Mexico. That's 21 countries, Cuba, and a couple of the itineraries, a couple of the islands in the Caribbean. So thank you very much for listening to us. We've been doing it for over 40. We're in our 42nd year, and we pride ourselves in designing special interest tours for your clients as per their needs, if you like. And our backup, we get really great reports about our tours and our guides and our accommodation, and the fact that we can put it all together, and it's quite easy to do for us. And they're going to be well looked after on the ground, which is the most important thing. If they're well looked after, that means I'll come back and do more bookings with you, and that's where we'd like to help you. Got any questions at all, any at all, give us a call on anything: visas, currencies, altitude, food, special interest. We'd love to help you get that booking. So what do I do? Okay. Question for you: which ruins just outside Mexico City start with the letter T? And you've got to write in, and that'll enable you to get into a draw for our next FAM tour, wherever it might be at the moment. So our next the webinar is going to be in 2 weeks, 13th. That's Easter Thursday, I think. 11:30, and we're going to be talking about our favourite places, which are the colonial cities. Puebla is very famous for Talavera pottery and weaving, and Oaxaca is famous for its food and all sorts of art and craft. And a different indigenous people of the Toltecs and the Zapotecs are in that area, so there's some great ruins to visit too, apart from the beautiful square. Thank you very much for listening. I wish you lots of deposits walking through your door. And I'd like to just say hi to all our friends who are probably not having a good time in Queensland and far north Queensland. If you are listening, thank you, and I hope you're going to be safe and well. Buenos dias. Gracias.